Hey, what is up, guys? It is MetaGamesGX here, and I'm going to be going over my updated MITSURUGI RYZEAL list, post-ban list. Yes, with the new ban list, I would say that MITSURUGI RYZEAL is the best RYZEAL variant overall from testing. I mean, of course, you can still run Pure, and I think Fiendsmith, now that it's lost like 4 1-card starters, I think it's going to be a tough press to run that variant, in my opinion, especially with 7th Tachyon out, just increasing that consistency. And this variant can run 7th Tachyon quite easily, and it actually is going to be getting more support in the next set. I mean, presumably, as all TCG archetypes get 2 waves of support in the TCG, so hopefully the new wave is going to be very good. But for right now, I wanted to release a list that people have been asking me for, that I've been testing out on DB to great success. And I do think that, once again, that MITSURUGI RYZEAL, the benefit of playing this post-ban list is that you already ran all the RYZEAL names at 2, essentially. A lot of lists were only running 1 sword and like 2 ice. So the 1 X is, and the 2 bonfires are really the only hits, but we can replace those. And now without Shifter and then especially Dweller in the format, you can start using things like Nadir Servant to break boards, and then also, you can just use your engine, with which MITSURUGI is already incredible with breaking boards with engines. Also, you can run the in-house Omni Negate, which helps you out things like Metaltronus and Ultimate Slayer. So you actually are able to protect your 1 of Detonator now that the ban list put it to 1. And so it's like a half MITSURUGI deck, half RYZEAL deck. So we'll see what happens with the new support, but I did want to go over this list and give you guys, what I've been playing for this new format. So in the main deck, we have about 45 cards. So I've been debating, you can bring this down to 42 if you don't have the 7th Tachyons, but I think if you don't have 7th Tachyon, you should be looking at things like Small World, but we'll get into it when we get into it. So we're going to go over the engine first. Obviously 2 Ice RYZEAL now that these cards are now at 2, so 2 ice and then 2 sword. I know that some people used to not run more than 1 sword, but I think that's non-negotiable now, because even if you ran this ratio just with 1 sword, you're going to have issues with the grind game if you start, pumping through your RYZEAL name. So I think just running 2-2-2 makes it so that you are basically just playing the same deck that you were playing before. These are all on their own right a 1-card starter in the deck because of the cards that we run in our extra deck, so you can go through other combos. But at the end of the day, if you just draw a RYZEAL name, in my opinion, you just play pure RYZEAL. You don't do the awkward MITSURUGI combo unless you get the X or like these guys plus MITSURUGI cards, so, or just the MITSURUGI cards, because they can get you to the RYZEAL plays, obviously. So yeah, no, these cards are great. They're a rank 4 engine, and also 1 node RYZEAL, obviously. And then 1 bonfire now that this is at 1. And then now I'm also running 2 7th Tachyons in this build too, to replace the 2 bonfires. I felt that honestly worked out the best overall. We don't need to really make it too much more complicated than that. I do think 7th Ascension is a card you could run, but I think it makes you play more into Droll, obviously, and then also this card just straight up gets you X'd, so that's really what you want to be doing. Arguably, you could run a 3rd 7th Tachyon because of the 3rd X'd being gone as well, but that brings you to 46, so that's just kind of what I'm playing with right now, and I think this ratio works really well because we are running other cards that help you really extend pretty well. And then for the last RYZEAL card, we're also running a RYZEAL Cross. We're not running a plugin because I think plugin conflicts way too much with the MITSURUGI cards. It does absolutely nothing if you draw the MITSURUGI cards, and in 45 cards, you can't afford that brick, in my opinion. However, the Cross is still just great for being in rotation. You have the Omni Negate to really protect your Detonator setup plus Cross, so I think it's usually something that's not going to be disrupted, or you could just play pure MITSURUGI at the end of the day. And also no Trap, obviously. We don't need to run that. And then for the MITSURUGI cards, we have 2 Murakamo, 1 Futsu, and then I do like this ratio personally. I was like testing like just 2 of these guys, or 1 and 1, and I think for right now with Dweller gone, I think it's the Mitsu cards just got way better. So yeah, I think like running the Futsu is just fine. Also, just once again, your RYZEAL engine's a little bit weaker, so you need something to fall back on maybe in the grind game, and this card's great for the grind game. Also, it just makes your combos way cleaner. So yeah, we're just running also 2 Saji and then 1 Kusanagi. I could up this to 3 Saji, but I think it's just a bit too much. This card's not a 1-card starter yet. So I think like and still running the Kusanagi is great for the grind game. It makes it for the 1-card combo, or sorry, the Mitsurugi combo into the RYZEAL cards really clean. Also running the Night Sword Serpent for that reason. Just to make it so that the Mitsurugi engine's way more strong. We're also running the Nadir package, like I prefaced before. So I think just having a strong Mitsurugi package where you have all the bells and whistles is very good, but you don't have to go really anything more than this, just maybe the 3 Saji, but I'm running like a lot of RYZEAL cards anyway, so I don't think I need to. And then 1 Ritual, 3 Prayers, basically the Sangan Kaiman of the deck, and then 1 Great Purification. I think this card is one of the reasons to run Mitsurugi, frankly. It's such a good card. This card's a searchable. It's also thrustable, so that's why Thrust is great in this deck, and now Thrust is even better in the game because only 1 talents. So, yeah, we have the 1 Purification because it's great to search off of your full Mitsurugi combo, and this is great for protecting your detonator. Like a lot of people, I feel like, will still be on main deck Ultimate Slayer, maybe Maltronus, maybe in the beginning weeks of this format. I don't know how that'll pan out eventually, but even games 2 and 3, you'll be seeing those cards. So this card just says absolutely no to those on your detonator. So you just protect your 1 detonator with this, and you are able to take down their board with your Mitsurugi cards. And without Dweller, going second is a lot easier. So like this card I kind of want to up to 2. I'm not gonna lie, I could definitely up to 2 Ritual just to have it. But like we're also running 3 Nadir Servant plus a Maximus, so we're gonna get to the Ritual either way. And then then we can always basically recur this off of the Kusanagi. And then also reviving off of Futsu, so we can unlimited loop this card, which is fine. And then 3 Nadir Servant plus Maximus, just really crazy consistency cards, but also they are board breakers. So going second now, they always resolve without Abyss Dweller being in the game or Shifter. So that's just like, it just made Nadir Servant such a better card. I wouldn't doubt if this card went to 2 eventually, honestly. Kind of like Master Duel without Shifter being at multiples, because this card's absolutely wild. And Maximus helps you play through hand traps, right? So like, let's just say you get impermed on like Ice or X'd, and then you just go Nadir, and then you make full Mitsu combo, because this card's basically full Mitsu combo. Is because you just end up sending the Herald and then plus like Ferigi, and then you end up drawing a card plus getting a Ritual card. And then I mean you have to obviously have one other card, but it's just such a good extender. But also just going second, you can end up sending cards like Entis, and then if you run the Malong also is very good. So I'm actually debating on running that, and that's something that you can also consider. But I just think the Mitsu cards are crazy right now, and that's why I think it's like definitely better than the Fiendsmith engine. I mean, this was basically 100% unhit. It's getting more support too, but I think as of right now, with Fiendsmith really relying on, I mean, the Fiendsmith cards are great, but I think the Mitsu cards just are just a bit more quality in terms of what you want out of the RYZEAL engine. So, we have non-engine now. We have the big 3 now, as I called it on Twitter. I'm just gonna say it now. This is going to be the new, like, Trinity, basically. Like, if you're familiar with GOAT format, there's a trinity of 3 cards that every deck ends up running because they're so good. I think it's like Delinquent Duo, Graceful Charity, and Pot of Greed. Well, I mean, it's the first time in a while where we've had 3 broken one-ofs that are basically all main deckable in most decks. So like Crossout Designators there. I don't even run all the Crossout targets, but I think it's just so good for like Mulcharmy or Droll or Nib, Ash, and Imperm. I think it's just fine for those. And then also Talents and Called By. So, also, these cards are just god tier. Like, if you see Talents, you just, like, win going first or going second. Same with Called By to resolve your combo. Maybe not so much going second, but I think this card is so good against, like, Mulcharmy and Droll that you kind of have to run it. And then same with just, like, Crossout. So, and Crossout's okay in the mirror, right? So, it's fine. And then for the rest of the non-engine, we are running 2 Book of Eclipse as well. I debated on running 3. I was testing between 2 and 3. It's just a bit bricky at 3, but this card enables you to dodge Imperm on like your Kusanagi or on your Ice RYZEAL or your X and or Sword for that matter, and then you can just continue to play the game, which is really nice. And it also breaks the board, right? So like you can use this into a RYZEAL board. It's good into the Memento board as well. Like it's very good into Blue Eyes as well, depending on what board they're on. So this could be a 3 of, and it's very good going first and going second. It helps you dodge hand traps and board break. And your cards, you can tribute your face down cards, right? And you can send your face down cards with your RYZEALs. So it kind of has some quote unquote synergy there where, you can use up cards, pretty well with this. And then for the rest of for the actual hand traps, 3 Ash. Because I still believe in running hand traps. I know like some builds, when they run Nadir, they just like opt to run like 3 droplet and absolutely nothing else, and I completely disagree with that. I still think hand traps are very much the play, but I think they've gotten slightly worse, but also because of the fact that the end boards have just gotten worse. So I think running the best hand traps in the game is just what I'm doing right now. I think Nib got way better, but also it can be a bit bricky. Same with like Droll. I could see myself upping this to 3, depending on how the format pans out. But these 9 cards I just completely always want to see, because going first, going second, they're amazing, so it's just fine. Same with Fuwalos. Going second, it's like fine into a lot of boards because you'll still get some draws. Mostly for going first or going second against most decks, though, when you hopefully open it and it just turn skips them, and then you can just like Mitsu combo into RYZEAL. It's really good, and it's a level 4, right? Perulia I've debated on with this build, but I think Perulia is arguably gotten a bit worse, but with other decks like Memento and Rogue stepping up, it might have gotten better as well. So I think you could consider siding Perulia. I personally would not main Perulia in this deck. I think Fuwalos is just like a catch-all in the beginning of a new format that will actually just like get you pound for pound a lot of value. Also, just the fact it's a level 4 is huge for getting into like Duo Drive or something like that. And Droll is just incredible at the beginning of a new format. Same with when people are losing their nib outs, and also Malice is now like dying to imperm more. So that's why I feel like Valor could also go into this, but I felt like running these books were just better for just like having more versatility, because Valor is not good going second. Or if you like draw on top deck rather. And so yeah, that's just kind of why I wanted to explain with those. Also, other cards I considered were, like I said, Droplet. I think Droplet isn't going to be the best into this new format. I think there's a lot of layered end boards that Droplet just doesn't quite deal with for the value with this deck, and you still need your card advantage. It's still a ritual deck at the end of the day, so like you still need cards. And then also Ultimate Slayer in the main deck could be a thing if RYZEAL steps up, right? This is like an imaginary month format, but we still have to live it. We still have to play it, so that's why we're doing this list. So once that new list comes out, though, go check out my channel. If this video is past, then we'll definitely have a deck profile for the new list. And it's good to see this theory, though, because I think this is the best MITSURUGI kind of strategy that you can be doing right now. But I've been seeing MITSURUGI do really well, even pre-ban lists. So I think that like this deck has a lot going on for the new format. So yeah, that was the main deck, 45. Like I mentioned throughout it, the little changes I might make, but I think overall I'm very happy with the consistency going first and going second. Nadir is once again also a board breaker, so I'm running I think like 16 non-engine, and it ends up actually just being 19 with the Nadir Servant, so I can actually board break with it. And yeah, so here's the extra deck, 1 detonator. This was our Arise Heart, right? So yeah, this card's at 1 now. I don't really care if I lose this. Obviously, Meltronus is a thing. I'm not even siding it for the crossout. Crossout's at 1, doesn't really matter for that reason. But I think also the MITSURUGI prayers, like I mentioned before, the trap Omni Negate really just like ends up like right, like the pure build lost the Toad. There was a reason why they were doing the Toad build, because it played around Nib, it played around these board breakers that outed your detonator. So I think that this is the next best step, right? Because you have an in-house Omni Negate, and then 2 Duo Drive. I think you run 2 now. I used to run only 1 in this build, but I think you definitely just run 2 at this point. Just to have the name. Only running 2 Xyz just feels weird with like the engine that we have, so we're running 2 Duo Drive. It's decent too, just so you can like send it off of X still and do the anti-nib play if you need to. And then 2 Eclipse Twins for the grind game. You only have 1 detonator, right? So you need to be able to loop the detonator. I think a lot of builds you stop to only run 1 Eclipse Twins. I think that's like completely non-negotiable anymore. To you have to run 2 in this build. If for the MITSURUGI RYZEAL build, right? So like because Detonator, unless it gets Maltronus, it's still going to be in rotation. So having this to send off of X, which X is at 2, so you're and you have the cross, so you're able to recycle this. You know, I might revisit plugin, but I think like this for the most part acts as a better plugin for this deck because it helps us extend, also insulate our board and things like that. So and then King of the Feral Imps, we're running this to start the MITSURUGI engine. We don't, I never see the need for 2 because it's like a very weird hand trap combination where you need 2. And with Nadir Servant, that just like comes up less and less. So that's just these are the MITSURUGI rank 4s. And then, or MITSURUGI slash RYZEAL rank 4s. And also, Eclipse Twin is great for just like making a random end board piece once again, just so you can like keep looping your generic exceeds. Like a lot of people just like in grind games don't realize you can just like, you know, make this with bodies and then sit on it and then just revive one of these guys and then just play the game. So that's why running 2 is so important because you sometimes just like need to send 1 to grind game or to grind or insulate your board, and then you just need a second one for your grind game. I just like it's come up way too much for me in testing post ban list. One Castell's great. I think this card's it outs the Eclipse Twins, right, and that will still be a thing. RYZEAL. I think the top 5 decks basically are like Fiendsmith variants, and then like RYZEAL, Malice, Odeon, and Memento. Basically, I think a lot of other decks can step up into the top 10 position now, though, but Castell just like helps you get rid of problem cards. It also like gets overfloating since it returns to the deck, so I think that's like super invaluable when you wouldn't have that kind of thing otherwise, especially without Dweller in the game. Like I think you very much need this for that reason, because before you could like Dweller and then like out those effects, but like it doesn't work anymore. One Dugaris. This is just like if you need to do like your sword combo and then you end on like Detonator plus Cross plus Dugaris or something, unless you want to do, but because we don't have room for Baguska, but also it's for the sword and ice line because you need this to if you want to go into the RYZEAL combo, or I mean the MITSURUGI combo through those guys, which is usually pretty bad because you can't end on Detonator. You have to choose between Cross or Detonator. And to me, it's always Detonator, and then you don't play into then you play into Nib, which is like fine, but nah, I don't play into Nib. So yeah, I think Dugaris is really just there as just generic draw power for my weaker hands, essentially. And then one Digester Emerald because we need to recycle our MITSURUGI. No, we have to recycle the RYZEAL cards, especially now that they're all at lower quantities. I think Digester Emerald will be starting to show up in a lot of other RYZEAL builds. So we're already getting ahead of and people were already doing that a little bit, but it's just way better now, especially with Detonator at 1, and then one Exciton for breaking boards, and one 104 Masquerade for the 7th Tachyon, so we can search Ice RYZEAL or X RYZEAL, and then one Aggregator for another just send off of X RYZEAL. I think it's still just fine, even though X is at 2. If he's going second, you'll want it, obviously. And then this Haggard should be a this thing should be a Tri-Brigade Farragut for the Nadir targets. So just pretend this is a Farragut, okay? Look at the nice branded fusion thing. So this is a Tri-Brigade Farragut. That's why I did a link, so it could at least look like it. Also, Haggard would be my 16th card, frankly. I think Haggard's very good for clearing like nib boards, like boards that you were nibbed on. So you can like do your RYZEAL stuff, but it's doesn't come up as much as you need it to run it, and I prefer the Nadir stuff. I think Nadir is just like way too free this format with Dweller out the format. It's like a board breaker and a starter in this deck specifically because it's a ritual deck. So I mean obviously you have to do the RYZEAL stuff first, but some hands are just like Nadir plus Mitsu, and if they like, or just Nadir, right, and then it's like, okay, you're just playing, you board break and then go into Mitsu, which board breaks more. Entis is just crazy, and then Herald, this could be a Malong, frankly, but I think you need this for going first on Nadir, or else it's like, why are you running Nadir? I'm debating on running the Malong though for going second, because you could cut like maybe like this. I mean, I think the second Twins comes up way too much, but you could like probably cut this, or yeah, I'd probably say you could cut the Dugaris and then run him along just so your Nadir is a bit better, and then also your Ultimate Slayer gets a little bit better, I guess. But I also think just like Herald's great. I think this card's incredible. So sometimes you want to search this going second anyway, because it will get you to your Mitsu ritual. I think this like you have to run this when you run the one ritual at one. Because that's why like Nadir is just like more copies of the ritual plus a draw plus a body, right? So that's why I don't really need to run like 3 Mitsu ritual offhand. But you know, that's just kind of my explanations for the list that I was kind of going through while I was making this build and deck building with it, because you guys know I love the deck building theory. With decks, I love going super in depth with it and like ratios and all that and consistency. And thinking about like the context of like what I'm going to be seeing within the meta that I'm playing in, but also like presenting a deck that will work for the general populace. Like that Nadir is engine plus board breaking, so that's like totally fine. And I think without Dweller in the game, like you can actually use that engine to board break a lot better now, because it was just like way harder to do that otherwise. So let's just go into the side deck super quickly. I know this is a super in-depth, like long deck profile, but I want people to because a lot of people are like, oh, is Mitsu RYZEAL dead? And it's like, no. It's actually probably the best RYZEAL variant now, but that's just my opinion. It's definitely up there. 2 triple tactics thrust. This is just 2 more copies of talents, and then also it can be decent going first if you just know your opponents on a lot of like Mulcharmies and stuff like that. Because then you can set in Imperm or something like that. Also, I've debated on running D-Barrier and Sanctum, but it's not really come up too much for me because there's so much like there's so much Fiendsmith out there right now that like in like cash, so like I don't know, D-Barrier is just not doing anything against them, and this is just like really good extension. This was also, I was debating on these being Bestials, but and then next we have 2 Lightning Storm and a Feather Duster. I just feel like these cards are crazy. Like, probably just staples in everybody's side deck at this point. But also, this QCR Feather Duster looks so nice, so you gotta run it. And, yeah, no, it just takes care of a lot of things. It also forces Odeon effects, which is good. It forces Malice effects. It gets rid of the RYZEAL Cross. So these cards are great and goated. And then also you can search them off of Thrust going second. 3 Lancia for the Malice matchup, 2 Meowls for just like any deck that would affect, but mainly Malice, so you have like 5 cards against Malice. I was running 6 Meowls or 3 Meowls, but I just can't find the room. This is a very tight side deck, and it's a very wide open format, so I'm already running enough hate for Malice. It might be too much hate for Malice, frankly. I could just like run other cards that kind of affect them because I already side these in against Malice, so I have like 8 cards against Malice, which, I mean, I also have the 2 thrusts, which could be tons. So, yeah, the Meowls might go for something else, but so far they've been really good against Malice, especially post BANLIST. Like, they just get like super slammed by Meowls now. Like, they give you like minimum like 2 or 3 draws. So that's pretty good. And then, yeah, so at least from what I've seen. And then 3 Ultimate Slayer. This card's just goated against RYZEAL, and it's also way better now. Some people might not realize because Dweller is banned, so this card just got infinitely better. This is also why this card kind of fell out of favor, I think, because of Dweller, but you know, no longer gonna get damage phase or draw phase Dweller, so this thing's actually gonna work and break the RYZEAL board very easily. Also, just like randomly good against rogues, so I'm trying to, once again, like the name of the game with the side deck is genericness. Honestly, I think these are like, I think Lancia is still just like mandatory, and this is just like something, once again, I think you could find 2, there's just no better sides against Malice, and I want enough sides against Malice, so that's just kind of why they're there. I think Malice will still be fine, and we'll reevaluate post Allen, right? And then the last 2 cards on the side are Bestial Druiswarm and Magnuma. I wish I had the Haggard, but these cards are just still, I think, too good in the face of like Fiendsmith variants being in the room, and also it's very good against like Tier Limit, which uses Fiendsmith, but I think Tier Limit is going to make a rise again, because people without Shifter and Dweller, that deck's free as hell. So I think you have to run like these just in case you go against them. But like the rest of your non-engine also kind of takes up care of that matchup, so it's like definitely fine. But also without you having Dweller, you know, you kind of have to have those Bestials. So yeah, guys, what did you think of the build? I think that, the name of the game right now is just like running really punchy cards around the RYZEAL cards, but also keeping a consistent non-engine package. And I think between the Nadir and then just like the full Mitsu package and running the 7th Tachyon to increase the consistency, I think I've found a build that basically is basically as good as the ban list MITSURUGI build. So, and if not better. So leave a comment down below what your favorite part of this deck profile was. If you guys want to see me do some combos, I know I've already posted a few combo guides, so I'll leave a link down below if you guys want to check them out after this. But if you guys want to see me do some combos, I'm also going to be updating the spreadsheet with combos of the new cards when they come out. So make sure to get that if you want to see all the MITSURUGI combos. Obviously, I think that this deck's very fun. It's very good going second. I think it's definitely the best going second RYZEAL variant at this point. I think obviously Fiendsmith cards are good going second, but I think these cards are this thing's a board wipe, right? So I think that does a bit more than Engraver Sen. So obviously Ignumde is the thing, but also this is, I don't know, it's very hard to stop a Mitsu ritual unless you have a impulse, right? So I think that's why I'm also debating to go 3 ritual, debating on that just to power through with the MITSURUGI stuff, but they can be a bit bricky depending on things. So I let you guys know, do with that what you will, and subscribe today. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. We're almost at 11,000 already. I appreciate it. If you didn't notice, I also have an ear infection right now. So yeah, hopefully I'm gonna stream once I get rid of this ear infection. I'm actually kind of surprised I got through this video, but I'm very passionate about Yu-Gi-Oh and the cards I like, and it felt really good to bring back to put together my MITSURUGI deck and test it, because that's all. I woke up at like 7 this morning. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this list. I'm gonna test a bunch of DB games and show these guys a list that it's very good. And I've already been theorying it for days now, but I had to put into practice and show you guys something that worked, and we got it. So yeah, guys, with that being said, thank you. MetaGamesGX signing out from the bottom of my heart. Have a good rest of your day. Bye now.